One of the most disturbing interactions that I've ever had was talking to a guy, this is probably about 10 years ago, who was telling me that if a kid, I'm talking about even a little kid, sees him commit a crime, he said, quote, I'll clap him so that he can't tell on me. I'll clap the little kid so he can't snitch. In other words, he'll kill him, make the kid another victim so that the kid cannot tell on him. Now, this obviously not only is messed up, from a moral standpoint, but even from a strategic standpoint, if you're trying to get away with a crime, no matter what crime it is you just committed, like if you just killed one of the ops or you just sold some dope or, you just hit a lick or did whatever. If the person that you killed was a gang member, or if, you were just selling dope or you were doing some crime that was less than murder, the odds in Chicago that you're going to be caught for that are low. Okay, especially if the person you killed was, like I said, an active gang member. Like, not too many investigative resources typically go into that. Most of those guys who do that kind of stuff get away with it. I mean, we gotta just keep it real. Like, I'm a police supporter, but most people in the community don't talk when it's somebody like that got killed. Nobody shares information with the cops. Nobody ever saw anything, and I think it's something like 80% of the time the killer goes free. He doesn't even get caught. And a lot of times when he does get caught, they beat the case. And we know a lot of high-profile guys that have just beaten the case, walked away from it, and nobody's ever said anything. And they might sit in there for a few years while awaiting trial, but they eventually beat it. And this is very common. So if you kill somebody who's in the streets, you're probably not going to get caught. Now, if in order to make sure that you don't get caught, you do something like kill a kid, that's going to have the exact opposite effect from what you intended. Because now, okay, maybe the kid personally can't snitch, but those kinds of murders get 100 times the attention and resources as far as the investigation that the murder of another street guy would get. I mean, we know this. Like, this is a pattern. We see this every time. You kill somebody like Hydea Pendleton, Tyshawn Lee, Shamia Adams, like these kids that have gotten killed. They're not just going to sweep that under the rug, like, killing one of the ops. That ain't going to happen. Like, every media outlet's going to be covering that. And the people in the community, they're going to talk. Maybe they weren't going to talk when you killed one of the ops, but if you kill a little kid, now they're going to speak. Okay, and no one's really going to hate on them for doing that or say you broke the code or anything, because in cases like that, you don't have to live by the code. Like, the person that did the hit on the kid, he stepped out of bounds. So he took it there outside of where the G code is supposed to, apply. So now you've just broken the rules, and now the rules don't apply to you anymore. So now everybody else is looking at you like an enemy. Like, even if you were from their own neighborhood, you just killed a kid, homie, like, all bets are off. So the odds that you are going to get caught, they don't go down when you kill a witness like a kid. They go up by a lot. And this is a story that we're going outside of Chicago for this story, man, up to the D, up to Detroit. But this is a story of a young man, a young child that I felt deserved to be told. And this little kid deserved to be remembered, man. Caleb Harris, 5 years old. This happened this year. And this happened while I was not on YouTube. This is a story, though, that I would have wanted to cover. So I'm going to cover it now. Better late than never. And he was killed so that he would not tell on a crime that he saw. And the crime was the murder of family. Okay, just 5 years old, killed. And he was shot not only once, but 9 times. Okay, so that he would not snitch. And see, a lot of times people, when they see the kids getting killed and the women getting killed, they assume that it was just accidental. I'm telling you, this is how foul the streets are. Like, this is why I tell these kids, man, there ain't nothing, I mean nothing at all honorable about the streets. If your homies start telling on you or don't send you money in jail, don't be surprised. This is what the streets are on. So they don't have love for nobody, not for their own, not for other people, not for nobody. So check this out. A 5-year-old boy, they said, who was murdered along with his mother, and this is being reported by Fox 2 Detroit, and her boyfriend, inside of a Detroit home back in February, was shot 9 times. according to documents that were presented. And he was shot execution style. He was among three found dead inside of the home. He was 5 years old. He was killed back on February 18th after authorities say the shooter killed his mom and his mom's boyfriend. So I don't know if he saw his mom and the boyfriend be killed, or if he was just in the house. I don't know if he was actually looking at it when they were killed. But the suspected shooter, whose name was Malcolm, he was only a teenager. He was in court for that preliminary hearing and was bound over a trial for the murder of all three. So a guy named Aaron, I think Aaron was the boyfriend, and LaShawn, who was the mother, and her son Caleb were killed that night when authorities said that Malcolm fired a total of 22 shots out of a gun that was allegedly owned by the boyfriend. So one of the things that this guy Malcolm had done at some point for the boyfriend was deliver weed for him. That's at least according to information that the police have. Now that information may not be reliable, but according to what the police know at this point, the teenager may have been the weed plug for the boyfriend. Malcolm went to the house that night apparently unarmed. But when he left the house, he had a black gun with an extended clip that was owned by not him, but by the boyfriend who was killed, the boyfriend of the mother of Caleb. And according to Malcolm's side of the story, the boyfriend had grabbed his shirt and tried to punch him. So he grabbed the boyfriend's gun and shot him with it. Now that is obviously a piece of the story, because he's talking about the boyfriend just grabbed his shirt and punched him out of nowhere. Well, I'm thinking that maybe something had led up to that, and hopefully those details will come out, if in fact that's even accurate. But this is according to him. So apparently he shot the girlfriend in the back by accident and then shot her in the head, killing her. There was a third person in the house who was a little boy, and Malcolm allegedly said that he believed that Caleb, the little boy, the little 5-year-old, was going to tell on him, was going to snitch. So Malcolm shot the little boy in the leg and then shot him in the head and shot him a total of 9 times. So a police officer was testifying at the hearing, and he said that he didn't know how many shots were fired. But the judge ordered him to trial, and he said that a total of 22 shots were fired in all. So the judge said that Caleb was shot 9 times, the boyfriend was shot 9 times, and the woman was shot 4 times. So Malcolm said that one of the other teens was outside of the home at the time of the shooting, and he was not in there with him. So the judge said that there were holes in his story about shooting the boyfriend in self-defense. He said that between the shootings, he said Malcolm had time to reflect on his actions, which shows premeditation for murder. Now, I partially disagree with the judge about this being entirely a premeditated murder, perhaps of the woman and the boy. But if you're premeditating about a murder of, if we're talking about the boyfriend now, why would you show up to the house unarmed if you're going there to kill the guy? Like you have a plan to take his gun from him and then shoot him? That doesn't sound like premeditation, at least not of the boyfriend. And I'm just being honest here. I'm not trying to let this guy off the hook for, what allegedly happened to the little boy. But, premeditation and you don't have a gun, that at least the murder of the boyfriend doesn't appear to have been premeditated. At least not according to external circumstances, although you never know. But so he ordered Malcolm to be bound over all the charges, and he was arraigned. So the bodies of the 3 were not discovered until 2 days later. The police went by to do a well-being check on the 20th of February and found them. And the grisly scene confronted the police. And this is one of the things that I say about why police really need to be treated like the military as far as rotations and time off, because you see things like 5-year-olds shot 9 times. Think about how that's going to mess with you mentally and affect the way that you deal with the next situation. So killed because he was going to snitch. And see, I wonder if he had only killed the boyfriend, if, there would have been as much attention on this case. But he killed the woman, and then he killed the little boy. So he killed the boyfriend first. And if it really was self-defense, he would have possibly beaten this. You know what I'm saying? If the boyfriend was really physically attacking him, If his story was true, and I don't know if his story is true, but if his story was true, and he just grabbed the boyfriend's gun, so he showed up with no gun, unarmed. If he showed up and the other guy attacked him and then he grabbed his gun and shot him, he might have been able to make a self-defense case. Now, not only do you not have a self-defense case, you got the murder of a woman and a 5-year-old boy. Like, man, any jury that ever shows this guy the light of day again is going to be the exception to the rule. That this definitely was played entirely the wrong way. And rest in peace to little Caleb, man, one of many, many innocent victims who often are targeted deliberately. Not all these kids are accidental, man. A lot of these kids are killed on purpose and for various reasons. And this is a common one. You know, they don't want the kid to snitch. The kid's going to open his mouth. When the police come around, the kid will say what happened. So they kill the kid. Now the odds that they're going to get caught just went up by 100. You know, now it's almost certain that they're going to get caught. Everybody's going to talk now. Nobody's going to let the guy off the hook. And a jury typically is way harder on cases like this, and judges too. So rest in peace to little Caleb, man. And think about it. Everybody who's out there, you know, thinking about doing this kind of stuff, like this makes you a real street dude. The guy who I had that conversation with, I said, like, you're going to kill a kid? And he said, you can't be a, this is what he said, I still remember his exact words. He said, you can't be a killer and have a heart. Okay, so why do you even want to be a killer in the first place? Like, honestly, what's so special about that? You're going to lie in a ditch just like everybody else someday. And then people are going to remember you as what? The dude who killed some kids. Like, what type of a legacy is that to leave behind, like, for your own kids and for the next generation, like, to follow? I mean, that's like a complete disgrace, man. But that's what a lot of guys want to do. And it's their choice to live their life the way they want it, but there's consequences to that too. You know what I'm saying, in this life and possibly the next. So think about it, guys. It's definitely not a wise decision. For everybody, for all the teens out there who are thinking of living it this way, bad move. Your boy, Winnie C. Report. I'm out.